Good evening, Sooner Nation. Good evening, Swiggy and Gavin. It is Tuesday, October 3rd, our usual post-game live stream on a Tuesday, not a Sunday, because I'll be honest, I have a head cold. No, it is not the Rona. It's just a respiratory thing, but man, is it difficult to really talk and everything when you're in the neck of it. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight for our OU Iowa State post-game vid. Swiggy, Gavin, thanks for joining me tonight. How are both of y'all doing?
Well, I will say this, I have just been glad that we actually have gotten over this first quarter of the season and everything. Now I am ready for basically for the best boss challenge that we've had so far this season, and given us a little bit to where I can get a Bebo burger after a game.
I thought you were talking about the big boss of me having to call Allstate and say, why the hell is my insurance going up like $45 in the next month? Oh, you're referring to OU Texas. Okay. Yes, we have some OU Texas. Swiggy, what about you, buddy? How are you doing?
Well, doing better than the Brewers right now.
Hey,
they should blow this game up.
Think of it this way: the Brewers are not the biggest L today, or in the past 24 hours, because depending on where you're looking at it, either Kevin Stitt, McCarthy, or the New York Giants are have the biggest L. So hey, I mean, it's a news dump Tuesday at this point.
I think the Giants have the Giants have the biggest. Actually, no, I take it back. Biggest L belongs to Aaron Rodgers.
No, the biggest L belongs to McCarthy.
It's Rodgers going on Pat McAfee and saying, "Oh yeah, we shut Travis Kelce down and we almost won the game." My brother, you dated Olivia Munn. You were engaged to an actress. I'm not talking. I'm just saying, glass houses, rocks, but that's just where Rodgers is in his career right now.
At least he's cut his hair. Speaking of which, guys, I did mention it is also October 3rd. You know what it is for it being October 3rd, right?
Lindsay Lohan?
We wear pink.
We do wear pink. What did you say, Gavin?
Lindsay Lohan. That's what I was going to refer to. And
yes, because it's the best day of the year. It's one of the best days. And if any of y'all don't like Mean Girls, just get out now. Just get out. It's a great film. It's also, if you're an anime fan, Full Metal Alchemist Day too. But hey, you have to be a weeb for that. So we're also in spooky season, gentlemen, because we are 2 days in, and which means we are a month away from Five Nights at Freddy's movie in theaters. Shut up to everybody who thinks that it's not going to be a good film. It's going to be fantastic. Shut your mouth. So got to get that out of my way. Hey, Caleb, how you doing tonight, buddy? It's good to see you. All right, guys, let's jokes aside, October 3rd, Mean Girls. Let's talk about this game. So let's jump right in. OU takes care of business against Iowa State, 50-20. Defense a little shaky in the beginning, but they're able to make some halftime adjustments going in. And really, once you hit the second half, it becomes a pretty lackluster game. They kind of go through the motions. OU scores a couple times, and they kind of really just close the final chapter against Iowa State for, gosh, who knows how long at this point, for the next decade or two. I don't see OU scheduling them unless it's going to be like an out of conference, easy win that they need at this point. I just don't think OU has a desire to do that, but we'll see what happens. But guys, let's talk a little bit about this game. Gavin, what's your first impression of post Iowa State?
I would probably say the interesting part of it was you've kind of mentioned up with the secondary kind of being a little shaky though. And the fact is and what kind of was crazy was this quarterback, who's basically a freshman, did not play like a freshman at all for, a good part of the game here and there. Now, of course, he threw that pick six to start off, but, kind of having that confidence, turn around a little bit. I mean, he was able to make some plays here and there to where our secondary was kind of slightly out of position and everything, and basically took advantage of that. So, but I will say, for the most part, to make those in-game adjustments where we have not seen that in quite some time, and I don't know how many years it's been. Yeah. I think if anything, that was kind of my biggest turn away. It's how do you respond to a little adversity here and there, and show can you be able to respond? And I will say they actually passed that really well.
Yeah. Swiggy, first initial thoughts from Iowa State as well.
I would say my initial thoughts with them are it was a good game. We made adjustments where we needed them. It was kind of, I mean, Cincinnati, we really didn't have to adjust anything. The offense ran into some bad penalty luck against that. But I mean, it can be hard to win against a team like Iowa State, especially when they get it close, because Iowa State has nothing to lose.
And that's a dangerous team.
Yeah, I mean that's always the most dangerous. Like to me, that's always the most dangerous team. Like one that they're tight with you and they just don't go away. Because I mean, like you can break a team's spirit in the third quarter, which we did. Yeah. But if we let them hang around, that makes the fourth quarter scary. Because at that point, okay, they're going to open up the playbook. They're going to try some things, and it's easier to motivate a team when you're hanging around. You're not quite dead. They're leaving. Let's do it. But that door just got shut on them pretty hard. So great job defense. It's not always easy to make adjustments mid game. And I mean, we've seen the anti-adjustments where the offense adjusts and then the defense is just like, we'll just do the same stuff that worked in the first quarter. That'll work, right?
Yeah.
No, it won't.
No. I will say, I mean, my initial impression is I'm going to take a bow because you both can tell me I was right for predicting that it was going to be a blowout game. So right. you can type in the comments, both of you, that I was wrong. Mr. Trope over here was right. So
I'll give you credit for what it's worth, if anything. I mean, I think we kind of nearly had the same score or something like that, but yeah, you were pretty spot on.
Swiggy, are you ready to admit? Because you had it close. I feel vindicated. Anyway, I'm both of y'all.
I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy. And trust me, I like being proven wrong. I mean, I still thought we were going to win, but it's.
And this was being proven wrong in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, it's proven wrong in a good way because we've just seen that before. We saw it last year against TCU. And I've said it before, this year's team is definitely not like last year's team at all. It's a night and day. It's Venables has them going. Venables has them going hard. We have leaders on defense this year instead of guys who are just, we're just, we weren't going anywhere. We couldn't go anywhere in the portal, so we're just hanging around. One last year. That definitely a few guys felt like that last year, but
yeah. I think for me, my initial observation was it almost, first off, kudos to the crowd and stuff as well. They said this was probably like the perfect atmosphere so far this season for like the home attendance and stuff. Like everybody was partying. They said that first pick six was one of the best like crowd reactions that they've gotten all season. The light show was great. Like kudos to them for showing up and staying out as well. Especially against, Mr. Hot Seat himself. I had to laugh that the crowd was chanting like that he has the hot seat. Iowa fans are solely convinced right now that he is not on the hot seat. I'm like, my dude is on the hot seat. It may take him about a year because I think what's going to happen is he can lose out this year. It'll take all of next year. And if he doesn't at least be in the upper echelon of the Big 12 by next year, by that following year, he's out. Like, I think that seat's getting a little toasty for him. But my initial reaction is like, I thought the game was pretty standard. I thought they were going to adjust. Dillon Gabriel, let's talk a little bit about the offense. I thought Dillon was great.
It was good. Good Dillon showed up.
Yeah. Dillon showed up. For it. Again, outside of really the middle of the field where we've talked about that ad nauseum at this point, where in the middle, he just does not get to those receivers. Dude played really, really well, hit receivers in stride. I never felt like he was overthrowing or anything or underthrowing. I always compare that to the Landry Jones versus Broyles. Broyles was always a great receiver, but if you ever go back and watch any game film, he adjusts a whole lot to Landry's ability. I did not see that this game, so kudos to Dillon. I absolutely believe like this game, if there was any doubt at this point, Stoops absolutely deserves to be on the field. And any clutch play at this point, dude just keeps making play after play. Our wide receiver units is insane. Like I said, I think there's some great things you can take from it. Defense, first half was a little shaky. Key Lawrence whiffed on a lot of plays. Key Lawrence was a factor on stuff, and he reverted kind of back to what we heard about spring camp, where Key Lawrence was not a good player with it, but then everything adjusted, everything looked fine. It also looked like, too, there was times where they just got lost from everything going over like their heads and everything. But even with the first half, they were able to make halftime adjustments, guys, and able to pitch a shutout at that point. Only still 20 points. That's still really, really, really good from it. So. Yeah. Outside of Dillon, though, of course, Gentry Williams, he stepped up. Danny Stutzman, I think he got like a little bit injured, had like a little bit of a stinger. But other than that, he's been stepping up at this point. Like I said, Billy Bowman, that pick six, I think that's our second pick six of the year, correct? I think. Yeah, because the first game we had a pick six.
Yeah, because I think we had a pick six against Tulsa, if I remember correctly, because Stutzman had a pick six went over at TU earlier this year. So, yeah, that was probably the second pick six this season.
Yeah. So Billy Bowman had pick six. We're seeing some of the younger guys step up and everything. I really do think, based on the current play at this point, I would not be surprised if Marcus Major is probably your starter for the rest of the year. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I don't know what's up with Barnes, Sawchuk, Walker. I think they're just getting a feel for him every single game. And at this point, it's just who has the hot hand. And unfortunately, to me, Marcus Major is the one with the hot hand. It's just they have no situational awareness to go to the holes at that point. Like, that's the hard part. They don't see the gaps or anything like that. Excuse me.
Okay. Well, here's something I wanted to ask you, Josh, and see what you thought about this, because it's like, it's usually they've always gone with that, but do you think they're just trying to go with like a running back by committee? Because I remember when I was watching the broadcast, they were basically hyping this up to where it was like, oh, it wasn't just one back you have to just mostly keep an eye on all the time or anything. It was just like, oh, no, they're using 3 or 4 different backs or so like that, too. Because I remember they were talking about that quite a bit during the broadcast, where, that they were showing like, yeah, they have over 100 yards here for this back or 100 here, more of like of a spread around of anything. I mean, would you rather have that sort of issue or anything, or have that one good back?
I'd rather that run good back. In my opinion, I'm always for rather have consistency for it. But the issue is not even the backs at this point. I agree with you that we are definitely doing it by committee. Don't get me wrong there. I'm more of a fan of having one solid guy in the running back position. That said, it doesn't matter if we have it's committee or one good guy. The O-line's still suspect for it, so it's going to give us issue regardless. We could put Adrian Peterson or Bijan Robinson in there, and they would not do well as well for it. The O-line's kind of mid at this point, so it is what it is. I just don't like our run game at the moment, and we need to figure that out. I don't like being uncertain going into week 6 at this point. For it, we're almost halfway through the season, and the running backs are our second best rushing person is Dillon Gabriel at this point, and to me that's an issue. For it. I just don't think any of them have the situational awareness at the moment, and I think they could develop for that outside of Marcus Major. For that, I know I'm crapping and giving shit to Marcus Major a lot, but he gets the yards sometimes, but he's an okay player. He has not made that next step, in my opinion. For it, but he is going to be probably the starter. I would not be surprised if he's the starter for OU Texas, barring something they've been keeping hidden for OU Texas for 6 weeks now. So, flip side of it though, wide receivers are doing fantastic. That the depth in the wide receiver room is just ridiculous, guys. Like it's crazy to think how much we thought the wide receivers were going to be the problem. But in fact, the wide receivers are probably our best unit.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, I'll say like Gibson with that crazy touchdown catch and everything, still keeping the strength and everything. I mean, it was I would probably say probably one of the best plays I've seen Gibson made all season.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it was a great play. Guys that were just like really excelling and stuff. Once they got into their groove, because I talked to Dad, and Dad was really worried of like, this is gonna be a shootout. I'm like, I'm not worried about the first couple of series, Dad, because defense is still getting settled in. Iowa State is going to be playing with a lot of emotion because this is truly their last shot for a long time against us. They're gonna try everything in the book, and that's the thing. That's why I don't want to give too much credit to Iowa State's quarterback because it was less about that he made those long passes. It was more we just completely were getting burned on our routes. Like we were messing up on our routes and where guys were set. There's a big difference of the guy beating you on talent and you know you're not set correctly or anything. So I mean, but looking at like the stats and everything and stuff as well, like I said, like the only area of concern that I think I really have would probably be our third down efficiency wasn't that good against Iowa State. We only got 6 third downs converted. To me, that's a little bit of a red flag. But then again, we got all of our fourth downs at that point. There were some little sketchy ones at this point. But other than that, like it was mostly through the air at this point. And I think that's where we're going to be rolling with is the air. I think Levy is going to try to force the run game against Texas this weekend, but it's going to depend on how much the O-line is in play.
I was going to. I mean, even with that, no offense coordinator ever wants to give up on the run, just because you have to keep the defense. You have to keep them honest.
Yeah,
like you just do. Even going back to the Rams Bengals Super Bowl, where the Rams couldn't run, but they just kept throwing Cam Akers up against a wall and hoped he'd break something big. And I mean, it probably worked and meant the Bengals couldn't stay back, and they had to at least respect the run. So I don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. I know everyone says, we need to run the ball well. I think we have issues running the ball well, but hey, you never know. You never know. Sometimes people have coming out. Sometimes in rivalry games, people have coming outs, and this could be one of them. Let's hope. Let's just hope here.
I do want to say I do want to give the defense a big shout out too for like that. Man, Peyton Bowen is just getting better and better every week. I love that he goes for it and not, we're just going to stand around and just let them punt. No, he goes for the attack. Trace Ford is probably kicking himself that he did not get that fumble recovery in the end zone either. But, oh, man, these young guys, the young pups are really stepping up. I'm looking for, like, Peyton's going to be a monster. And I called my dad on that. He's like, how does he know? I'm like, Dad, that's the difference between a 3-star player with a 5-star heart and someone who just has talent. That is talent. You don't teach that. He knows, because if you watch him right as the play clock, he's already figured out on that game reel when it was going to snap. You already see the motion already happen. He was already bolting. I'm like, dude just knows his stuff. And that's something Texas has to look out for this weekend is Peyton Bowen, in my opinion, during punting and kickoff. There is a real chance he could make it into the backfield. Now, I thought they were going to flag it because he did, at least on a first impression, he did hit the planter's leg, but it seemed like since it was a clean hit, they did not flag it, which good for the rest for that. Excuse me. But it was such a great play. Like there are so many electric moments with this team, even going against scrubs and all that. There are moments that they're taking care of business and they're doing it relatively well. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about. I would say I didn't even do a preview or a post game outside of having a head cold from it because there's not a lot to talk about. I walked in thinking like this game's going to be a rollover game, guys. Like I don't expect a lot from Iowa State. They can't score, and it showed like outside of those ones where we whiffed on our routes, they couldn't score. They could not make it into the end zone. They just were that. I think Matt Campbell's temper tantrums had more offense to them. So
Campbell's lucky. Campbell's lucky he has enough built up goodwill that will probably be enough. That'll be enough to get him into next year. Just because I don't really know what Iowa State's plan is without Campbell, but I mean, who knows though? Who knows? Who knows? Iowa State, but to be fair, I think the Big 12 is good enough, or not good enough. The Big 12 is bad enough where Iowa State can definitely. I mean, I know we I know we joke online, but West Virginia can win 8 games this year and save Neil Brown's job. Something
which
that
is
should not happen.
Wild.
So that should not happen. But we're at that point. The only game he lost was against Penn State, and like you kind of expect to lose that one.
Yeah. Well, and how Penn State and everything was going. That was expected. Like they're going to be an elite team this year, or great team. I don't know where they're at still because they haven't really faced a team yet or anything. Caleb, you brought up a good point. I do want to bring that up as well. At this point, I hate saying it. Bench Stogner, go 4 wide receivers, 4 wide at this point. There's no reason for Stogner to be out there. And I think this also ties a little bit into Marcus Major as well, where my issues are for it. It's not that they're not talented. Like, I want to get that out there now, but they can't block worth anything. Like, Marcus is terrible at blocking for Gabriel, and Stogner's not that good either for blocking as well. There's a massive dip on tight end at this point, and I'd rather have him bench and throw out 4th wide receiver. We have the room for it than keeping Stogner on the field, because what is he doing at this point? Because, like, look, what's his name? It was our wide receiver. He's practically a tight end anyway at this point. Just throw him out there for it versus Stogner. It's just, he's lost his job, in my opinion, but I absolutely agree. You would think someone who as massively as tall and built as he is would be performing more. It's just ever since that injury, that's just not gotten it together, unfortunately.
Injuries are rough.
Yeah, that staph infection or whatever. Rough. He just has bounced back since then from it. So it is what it is. Like he'll end probably his career very quietly at OU, which is fine. I'm glad he would rather be here than somewhere else. But it is what it is. Gentlemen, you got a chat? Gentlemen, anybody else? Any final thoughts on the OU Iowa State? Like I said, there's not. Funny enough, if you compare to the earlier games, there's not a lot to talk about in this game outside of like the run blocking. We got burned a couple times because we weren't set for routes. And then Dillon, just the middle of the field stuff. There's not really a lot of criticism for this. I'll throw this in there. I actually will throw this in there. I think the defense is whiffing just a tiny bit because they are working themselves up already so much that we see them not set correctly and everything. Like, it's like, all right, that first drive, get your emotions out, but that's being prolonged a little bit. I do like aggressiveness, but you do have to play smart though. So a little bit here and there from it, but yeah. Any final thoughts or anything though?
I got nothing.
I got.
It was a very. It was just a very taking care of business kind of game, which is nice because we haven't had totally stress-free OU Texas games the last couple of, or stress-free games before OU Texas the last 6 years or so. So
that's what I thought too, is this game was perfect for using it as a tune-up game versus Texas, who actually had to go out and perform against Kansas. Like, they could not let Kansas just walk in and them just sleepwalk through that. They were a ranked team. This is going to be a good Kansas team this year. Maybe 8-9 wins, but it's nothing that you can just we have to look to next week. You could do that with Iowa State. In my opinion, for Iowa State just did not have the talent to keep up with OU. But yeah, overall, when you adjust on it, like I said earlier, this was the last time we faced Iowa State probably in a long time. I just don't see them playing us in like a non-conference anytime soon. I think we're more likely to face them in like a low lackluster bowl game. I'm indifferent on how I feel about ending it. It's like I never was a fan of Iowa State. They're there. Like OU's dominated that series as much as they've dominated Bedlam. When they win, it's going to be like a once every 20 years. Oh, that's neat. That's it. Like their fans are some of the worst fans outside of some that I personally know. They're not a good fan base because they got cocky as heck under Matt Campbell, and Matt Campbell reflects their attitudes and vice versa.
Yeah.
I'm not sad to not face them anymore.
I'll give Baylor this, and this is the only time you'll ever hear me say anything semi-complimentary about Baylor. At least when Baylor got cocky, they had something to back it up.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm taking away all the Baylor scandal stuff, which is horrible.
They actually won trophies.
Horrible, of course. Everything about Baylor is horrible. But, like, TCU has more... TCU can be cocky. Iowa State can't be cocky. They haven't won anything. As much as I hate Baylor and I hate everything about them, you know what? If they want to be a little cocky, that's fine. You have something to bet. You have at least trophies to back it up. Everything else is, of course, all the other stuff that happened kind of means they can never be cocky again. But you know,
right.
But up until that point, they at least had reason. But Iowa State was always, oh, we beat you a couple times, and oh, okay, that happened, and now we're just kind of, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess it could happen in 15 years, where it just kind of works out. We play Iowa State, but I don't really see it happening.
Yeah.
But
it's Iowa State always reminded, and I'm not trying to be that guy. Baylor, using that as an example, have trophies to back up on, say we backed our shit talk up. Absolutely. Yeah. TCU, same thing. They backed their shit up, had some trophies and stuff from it as well. Iowa State, their biggest claim to fame was being spoilers. And they weren't even that good at it. It would be these bizarre, weird years, they would win or something like that. Iowa State, the team, in high school, you would schedule, same thing with Baylor before Baylor, had Bryles, that you would schedule for homecoming. That's the team.
The only real big spoiler they had, though, was that random Thursday night game against Oklahoma State, where they won and ruined Oklahoma State's season.
And ours, too, because they had that one in 2017 where it just came out of nowhere, and that was that beginning of Lincoln Riley's, throw-up moments. That was the first red flag of hindsight 2020 of he does not do well in the second half and is just a terrible in-game manager.
I agree with that. But the thing was when we lost, the stakes weren't as high. When Iowa plus that was still the start of Matt Campbell. That Iowa State win against Oklahoma State. I don't want to. I don't think it changed trajectories that much. Because we see Auburn's won national championships and it's never really changed who Auburn is. So that wouldn't change their trajectory, but that still feels like such a huge what if moment for Oklahoma State if they had been able to get into that championship game.
Yeah, even losing to them, they probably should have gone to it, but yeah,
BCS era, but that's where we are. So anyway,
Oklahoma State died for us to get to a playoff, which I'm okay with.
Anyway, enough about the Cyclones.
Well, real fast. I want to add one more thing too to get an idea of how rarely they beat OU. Take Matt Campbell out. The last time they beat OU was 1990. And then before that, it was 1961. They were the team who scheduled for homecoming type of deal. So, but speaking of game management, though, Swiggy and Gavin, let's talk about USC's game management and the rest of Week 5 because, look, I'm not going to say that Colorado was going to win. But, boy, did Lincoln Riley give Colorado every single chance to at least take it to overtime. Colorado, though, decided to throw up on themselves and go, well, let's run the ball. Okay.
Yeah, there's the experience with Colorado. It's that's general big game experience. But so this isn't gonna be quite like a Ryan Day rant, and this isn't gonna be a big rant, but this is going to be, look.
Hey, for everything negative you say about Ryan Day, you have to say something positive about Taylor Swift.
I will. But look, the thing is, compare Oregon to USC. Yes, it's in Colorado, but you know what? I don't care if it's in Colorado. Colorado's not that good. In Oregon, they came against Colorado. They took everything people have been saying about the Buffs personal because they want that attention. They feel they deserve it. They crushed them. Tech gave Oregon a better game than Colorado did. They came out. They wanted to crush them. USC came out, and you know what? This is where I'm not going to defend Alex Grinch too much. His defense has issues, but at the same time, Lincoln, you have to run the ball at some point, and this is where his pet project with Caleb backfires on him. In the second half, they kept throwing the ball. He kept trying to get Caleb Williams more touchdowns, and that kept stopping the clock. It led to what we've seen before. Yeah, look, that's an old criticism back to the Riley years. I remember this was 2019. We were playing Iowa State. I was on vacation in New Mexico at the time, so I come back. I decide I was going to order a pizza in the hotel room. Just watch Iowa State. OU gets out to a great lead. I think it was what was it 35-7? Was that 35-7 game at halftime or something?
Was that a home game?
That was a home game.
Yeah, it was a home game.
I believe I was at that game because it was something like 42-41 was the final score. Right?
Yeah, so it was 42.
Yeah, 41. I was at that game because I took my old roommate with me, and we were both cussing out that entire game.
Yeah.
Riley.
Yeah, so let me get this up here. Just give me a second here. Bring up the box score from it. Sorry, it's going.
I think it's 42-41.
Yeah, it was 42-41, but we were up 35-14 at halftime. We should have walked with that game. Even in the third quarter, we were up 42-21. Once again, we should have walked that game. And I just remember seeing in the fourth quarter, we're going to pass the ball 3 times, and it's a 3 and out. Yeah. And Iowa State went for it. They decided to go for the win, and they could have easily done it. And you can't blame Jalen Hurts. You can't blame everything. Can't blame everything on that because we did a good. Kennedy Brooks' 48-yard run should have ended that, but
it didn't.
No, because if you look at the plays, I'm going to go play. I am going to go play by play here for fourth quarter drive. Yes, I'm pulling up an old game. So it's like, okay, Kennedy Brooks run, Hurts pass to CD Lamb, CD fumbled. That unfortunate.
Yeah.
Just a very unfortunate thing. But then the next play punt, we run, false start. It's run it again, pass, and then another kind of run. It's just nothing. It's just we just kept it. It's just we just could not sustain drives, and even when we did it, nobody respected it. Nobody respected what we were doing because they got the ball back fast. Once again, for perspective, we'd have our second half to, and even when we won, even when we were scoring, like our second half drives were 1 minute, 4:06, 30 seconds, 2:55, and 52 seconds.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable, and that it's the same thing you see at Colorado. Bad offensive drives in the second half. Colorado was able to figure them out, and if Colorado had been a better team, they would have won. Everyone so far has at least figured out USC in the second half.
Because it's what we said before, both of us, all three of us, that air raid, how it was set up by Mike Leach, inherited by Lincoln, inherited by the coaching tree. It's a Band-Aid. It's not a solution. It gives you about a 2 years advantage over your opponents, and then they figure out how to beat you for it. It's also what we talked about too, is if your teams are not ready for it with your strength and conditioning, it's a detriment for you to run these hurry up offenses because your defense is absolutely worn out. And I'm a very minimal person on X's and O's. I'm slowly learning. I've actually purchased a lot of books to learn more about strategies and learn about it. I'm at the same level as the Swifties are of, all right, we're going to teach you what the triple option is with all the schemes. But that said, I know enough that you can't be throwing your defense out there for 40 minutes in the game. That's what happened with Texas with Kansas at that point.
And that's what's happened with USC. And here's the thing: Caleb is great. Caleb is a
no. Caleb is not great. He's elite. Let's all be honest. He is elite.
You're right. He's elite. I'll say he's elite. You're right. I'll give you that.
Yeah, he's elite.
I'm not playing.
Yeah, I can put my own bias aside and say he's elite.
I'm not playing down Caleb. I'm not playing down Caleb.
Well, I'm sorry. While I'm thinking of it as well, Caleb is going to look so awesome at the New York Giants or what's their names?
He's going to the Bears.
The Bears.
But Caleb. So Caleb is elite. This is probably he is. I know we've said it with Kyler. We've said it with Baker, where they're almost good enough to get you over that hump, to get you over the defensive issues that you're having. And Caleb might just be elite enough to do it, but it's such a tight. But right now, you're on such a tight situation. It's just your margin for error is bad. Like we saw last year with Utah, by the Pac-12 champ game, Caleb was a little beat up. Nothing again. It happens. It happens. He runs. He has to run, and he doesn't get. In many ways, he's kind of the anti-Tua, where Tua would put up these gaudy statistics, and he'd be out of the game in the mid third quarter. He never made it to the end of a game. But the problem is, Caleb is playing. There was no reason for Caleb to keep. Caleb should not have been still playing in that fourth quarter. There was no reason for it. Because to me, that's the healthy medium you want, especially early. You want a guy to make it to the fourth quarter, and then start of the fourth, mid fourth quarter, you pull him. There's no reason for it, but that just adds more wear and tear. And you can say these guys are college. Everyone has to deal with it. But for a running quarterback, it just makes more something can happen at any time. Look what happened to Duke's quarterback. Duke's quarterback just last second was trying to get a Hail Mary, and he got hurt. Akron's quarterback tore his ACL, and I don't want this to happen to Caleb. College football and football is better when Caleb Williams is healthy and ready to go.
Correct.
So, but you're seeing the same old problems that they have, and that's why I said I thought they had like a 2% chance of an upset because 11 a.m. game. This is normally the time of year that Lincoln has issues. He escaped with a win. He
absolutely did.
Yeah, he did. There was just no way around it.
And now, it's looking at their schedule. They have, let's see here, Saturday.
They have Oregon, I know, further down the schedule. They also have Washington.
This is not easy. This is not their schedule's not easy from here on out. Arizona, who I don't think is really Arizona's good enough to maybe upset them. I don't think they will.
No, they're not good enough.
I don't think they. We've seen. Well, remember we've seen teams do it before, so I don't think. I agree. I don't think Arizona's good enough, but you can't write them off. They're at Notre Dame, and even though I'm down on, even though I don't think Notre Dame's that good, especially after seeing against Ohio State and Duke, it's still at Notre Dame, and that's a 100% circle game for Notre Dame because lose to Ohio State but beat USC. Okay, the season looks a lot better. Then they have Utah the next week. Then they have Cal, who same level as Arizona, maybe, but probably not. Then Washington, then Oregon in back-to-back weeks, and then UCLA. That is a hard November.
Yeah, it is.
Go on, Gavin. Yeah.
It's like I'm at this point to where, with the way this keeps playing and everything, I don't know if anything, I would see 2 or 3 losses on that schedule. If anything, with the way they've always been trying to play for the most part. And
Gavin, I have to dial in that I think Notre Dame would be a loss. I do not see them walking into Notre Dame. Ohio State is a complete team, and it took them the entire game. I do not see them beating Notre Dame.
And a massive mental mistake.
But the other thing, it's like I kind of with you at 2. I agree with you. Losing at Notre Dame though too. And then, of course, I always been questioning the physicality, with that USC defense and everything. And, of course, when them playing Utah, they've always had the problem with the physicality. So, I've, haven't seen them, basically go over that hump as well, because I can see where they can also lose to Utah. Oregon, as well as, too. It's hard for me to believe it, as somebody, aside from the bias and everything. I really do think that they're going to get the 3 losses around that time and everything. And then you're basically going to be wondering at this point, though, too. It's like, something has to change over there, for Lincoln Riley, because you remember, this is the same, part of the same staff that he brought from OU to USC. And then, and I think that will probably get USC to get those rose-colored glasses off and everything and look like, okay, yeah, there's some serious issues going on.
My conspiracy theory, and this is total conspiracy. Don't take this to heart. My conspiracy theory is part of the reason Grinch still has a job is because he knows the timeline. And he knows how everything happened when Lincoln left OU, and there's a lot of conflicting stuff there. So Grinch is basically going to be attached to him for the rest of this year, maybe one more year, because I think Grinch knows too much. But once again, that's just my wild conspiracy theory, because look. Or who knows? Maybe there's good drinking buddies, but there's no reason why Grinch should still have a job with Lincoln Riley at this point. At this point, it wasn't Grinch, but Riley's faults have been, a championship run with Baker was ruined because of defense. A championship run with Kyler was ruined because of defense. I don't know if Jalen could have taken us with a championship run, but he had the potential. We've seen him at USC and Alabama and Philadelphia. It's been defense year in, year out.
I have 2 theories. I have 2 theories real fast, so I don't forget it. I have 2 theories. First one, it's Grinch has to have photos of Lincoln Riley's cooking. That has to be it, guys. That's why he's holding it. It's like, if you don't keep me as a defensive coordinator, I'm going to show everybody how you cook a steak. Yeah. Horror. No. I think my real theory is it's narcissism, and that he can't have a defense better than his offense because it doesn't let him pad stats. That's my real theory. Gavin, go ahead though.
Okay. Well, what I was gonna say though was that I look like what you were saying with Jalen Hurts. I don't think anybody was gonna beat that LSU team in 2019.
No one was.
No, and that was kind of where I was gonna go at, because it was like there was just no way anybody was gonna go after that LSU team back in 2019, because it was just definitely a nightmare. Even like with Brent Venables, being the DC over there and everything as well against Burrow too, which was one of the better teams as well, and it was just the other deal. But like outside of that, it's like you have to understand where where the whole liability is and everything too. And it may be that of the narcissism where you don't want to have the offense better than defense. I don't know, but I think the problem is it's like you can't have the and I kind of am putting this. You can't have the yin without the yang. In anything you have to have the complementaries on both sides. That's kind of how I look at it. Because if you don't make it to where you have a whole team, it's not going to serve you to just basically to have to where it's complementary football, to where it is a solid round team on both sides of the ball. You don't want to have to where you're all one side or the other. And I think that's the problem, because he let his own pride get away with that.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's just what I mentioned in the chat and stuff too. There's nothing stopping. I think he's still keeping Grinch around for the sole fact too. Like, he can't set a rule that he can't talk about stuff anymore if he leaves, because now there's a federal law saying that companies, football teams, stuff like that, that's still a business, can't NDA you once you leave. Like, you're allowed to say whatever you want about your company whenever you leave. So what's stopping Grinch from like, I'm going to tell all story on ESPN on a 30-for-30, the real story behind Benedict Brisket,
Yeah, that's
who knows,
and that's where my conspiracy theory comes in, that he has to keep Grinch employed and happy for a certain amount of time. Once again, that's I could be totally wrong. That I will admit that is my most insane conspiracy theory, but because hey, all we know is that there's no way LSU and USC just happened to both call him after the Oklahoma State loss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We all knew he was talking.
And one contract was worked out in one night. No one believes that. It's like I think there's more, and I think Grinch knows where the bodies are buried, because this isn't just like it's not like it was like even Lincoln leaving was weird. Like, it's not like Brian Kelly. Like, Kelly leaving to go to LSU was weird, but Kelly was basically like, "Hey, I'm out. Peace," which is a very normal way to go. Like, it's just normal. Like, he didn't really take any assistance or anything with him, which basically means he was in it for himself. Kelly to LSU has always been like the most normal of a coach just leaving, where it's just like, screw you guys, I'm going to LSU.
Yep.
But that's just who Kelly is. Yeah, that's who Kelly is, though. I mean, he screwed Cincinnati to go to Notre Dame.
Correct. Well, and let's add this in too, while we're talking about Week 5 and stuff too, because we go through the schedule and stuff. This year is turning out to be I feel like we're starting to slowly go, because I always think it's a pendulum. Offense happens, defense comes back. Offense, we're slowly switching back to that defense, because look, Utah got taken care of by the Beavers and stuff this week. Like, it was not even it was a close game. Utah got not even destroyed. It was we walked in, took care of business, and went home. Like, everyone was shocked that Utah lost that one.
Utah, I wasn't shocked on that one. Utah's been in a weird position with their quarterbacks all year, where Cam is hurt, he hasn't played, and it's not like their backup almost lost against Baylor. So I wasn't super shocked that happened to Utah. Utah's been playing with fire. It was just, could they get their quarterback back before it burned them? The answer is no. The answer ended up being no for them. But I mean,
well,
go on.
Oh, well, add in too as well, not just Utah, LSU. Now, how they're still ranked, I don't know. I know there's a lot of Maryland people pissed off that how are we 5-0 and not ranked? Well, you haven't played anybody, guys.
Okay.
Like Maryland, calm it down.
A&M has more of a reason to be pissed. 4-1, best record in the SEC. Like, I mean, LSU and A&M should be LSU and A&M should be like flipped, because it is wild to me that a 3-2 team is ranked 23. And okay, I know it's 2 ranked losses, but Florida State killed them, and Ole Miss, who lost to Alabama, beat them. They barely beat Arkansas. Their best win. You beat Grambling. Congratulations, guys. But I mean, looking at it, this is this is another fascinating week where I don't know we'll get many good matchups, but
Well, before we jump into that, there's still a couple more though from week 5. Not just that. Notre Dame also took care of business against Duke. Like, everyone was surprised at how close it was. I think the best thing that came from that was when they were at College Game Day. I saw a College Game Day sign that said, "Hey, Notre Dame," and it was a little kid, maybe not older than 7, that had Game Day sign that said, "Even I can count to 11." And I was like, masterpiece right there. That was good.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia. We don't know what Georgia is this year, because I mean, if Georgia wins the championship, they're okay. Then it's just gritty defense, and they had some rough time on offense, but they're very much
they're grinding it out.
Yeah.
I mean, their offense just mostly relies on their tight end. That's just all it is, if anything. I mean, who's basically one of the best players in the country with Bowers. That's about it.
Yeah. Georgia looks vulnerable. Like,
they do.
But their defense is still good. Like,
yeah,
it's going to be one of those. It's got to be a team that can high fly over their defense, and I don't know that team right now. Off the top of my head, honestly, I think Penn State could handle their defense, but I don't know if Penn State's defense could stop Georgia either, though.
Penn State's a great mystery to me, because I think they could win the Big Ten, but Michigan's schedule has been so soft. Like, I know, like you're saying, Maryland hasn't played anyone. East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, and Nebraska. And even then, it doesn't get any. Even then, Michigan's schedule is, even for the Big Ten, it's a joke. They have Minnesota, Indiana, Michigan State, who's in such disarray. Purdue could be a spoiler. Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State. Like, Michigan could 100% walk into the playoff, and I would have zero confidence in them, because I just don't know how good we won't know how good they are until November.
Well, and let's add this in too. Like, Michigan got over its truest hurdle right now was, could they win games without Harbaugh because of his suspension? And they did. That's what it really comes down to.
I mean, with that schedule, they had to.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, just from talent. But I know what you mean. But let's see.
Let's not forget too, Kentucky surprised everybody. Like, nobody knows what this year is because we're at week 6. There is not a front runner. It's, we've talked about this now for 3 weeks, and let's add another week to this. Who is on the boat and who is not? You could say OU right now. You can say Georgia. You could say Texas. There, Alabama's not. We thought Florida might be, and it was just a rough beginning. They're not. Florida State's not, or Florida State is, but they're having rough problems. Like, there is no true dominant team right now. There's a couple more than we should have listed, but it's more stuff. Go ahead, Gavin.
Oh, no. I was just agreeing with you. Like, it's just been like weird, because it's like it's like I would say this is probably like one of these seasons to where it's like up for grabs for anybody at this point. I mean, you could probably say like, you could probably get like 10, 15 teams and everything, but I think it's like, I think that list will get smaller each and every week, like how we always do every week. And then you will probably get like, okay, now once you start getting into November, because when the committee starts putting out their playoff lists and everything else, so too, then we're going to be, kind of figuring out, okay, now we are going to need to, basically to where it's just kind of be like, keeping an eye on that. And I'm just going to say this, like, if we handle things like we're supposed to for the rest of the year, the problem is, it's like, I think with the way the strength of the schedule is with the conference as a whole, it's going to be like where it's going to basically hinder us in the long term. I mean, other than Texas, of course, but it's just, it's
I think
kind of
go on.
It's just like, I just really don't know, because like with the strength of the schedule, it's not going to be the same with like how the Pac-12 is, where you have like 5 or 6 different teams that are basically within the top 25, or the SEC, to where it's always proven to be a gauntlet every week. Because I just have not seen anybody basically wanting to step up this season inside the Big 12 other than OU Texas.
I mean, I think
real fast, Andrew. It's the same thing of mentioning that as well. It's like, I saw a joke, and they're wrong, but they're not fully wrong. Does that make sense? I said it really weird. They're wrong, but there is some partial truth to it. Like, everyone's been saying OU and Texas need to be ready to enter the SEC. I think it's the other way around starting to go into it, in that I don't think the SEC is going to be ready if OU and Texas are starting to get peak again. When they enter next year, could be a real big reality check, especially if the SEC is going to be down next year, just like the Big 12's down this year.
Yeah, I still think that a one-loss Texas or one-loss Oklahoma as Big 12 champions probably make it in, because I think Big 12 is going to be. I think Pac-12 is going to Pac-12. I have no faith that there's going to be just one major team who takes over that conference. SEC is getting a team in. Big Ten's getting a team in. After that, I mean, FSU's looked okay, but still the ACC, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Right now we're looking at it at the same problem where we have the same discussion in week 5 every single year, where it's like, well, what's going to happen with these players? And everything mostly works itself out. It somehow worked itself out last year.
Yeah.
So at this point, I just don't think there's anything. You can't really make any playoff predictions. It's impossible. And while we like what we're seeing, and there's some good stuff. I mean, it's fun discussion, but really and truly, all we know for sure, there's going to be an SEC team, there's going to be a Big Ten team, and the other 2 spots are just depends on who cannibalizes the other. And I mean, and we could see it this weekend. A&M could easily beat Bama. And I know the joke is, oh, Bama's never quite dead, but I mean, a two-loss team is almost impossible to get into the playoff. There are too many other one-loss teams. Not saying it can't happen.
They go G5 before that happens. And we saw that with Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Like, the stars had to align, sure, and everybody had to lose one, and they had to go undefeated. They'll do that before they do a 2-loss. It has to. Everybody has to have a throw-up moment. Multiple times.
Yeah.
But I mean, even then, like what you were saying, Andrew, though, as well, is like, look at the Big 12. Like I mentioned it not a second ago, they're down. And looking even ahead, put aside OU Texas for a second. Who on the schedule scares us? Because it's like UCF basically shat around and lost to Baylor. Good job, guys. You got bounced out of your own house. Got deflated, like however you want to say it.
Well, I'll be fair to UCF, and this is the only time you'll hear me be fair to UCF. They just don't have Power 5 legs yet. They're able to play really well for a half, but it just becomes
they have 25 guys.
Yeah, it just becomes things get you slowly wear teams down to a nub, and that's what Baylor's able to do, because Baylor's gotten Power 5 talent even after everything. In which, I mean, look, Baylor should put up a statue of Matt Rule, because he's the only thing. Him being a competent coach and recruiter is the only thing that saved them from the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
They were staring down the abyss, and it's the same. I mean, same thing. Like Penn State, even everything with Penn State, while that was bad, Penn State was never truly staring down the abyss, because they're still the biggest school in Pennsylvania. They're the third best Big Ten. They're the third. They've been a historically really good Big Ten team. They have enough donors. They have enough everyone that, unless the NCAA stepped in and basically tore apart Penn State was not going to die anytime soon.
Yeah.
They just they just weren't. They didn't have. They just didn't have. They just have too much of a good infrastructure to kill them. Now, I'm not saying you can't, because I mean, get enough bad coaches, enough booster infighting, enough bad leadership. Well, anything can happen. Any team.
Yeah.
I mean, look what happened to Michigan for so many years. Where they didn't matter until until things finally started to click with Harbaugh.
Right.
Which I mean, hey, good for Michigan for sticking with him, even though Harbaugh 100% wants to jump off that ship. But
right.
But regardless, Baylor's just, and that's the big problem with a lot of the Big 12 teams. They don't have the infrastructure and environment. Oklahoma State, without T-Boone Pickens,
they have a little more problem than without T-Boone there, because they still don't have a starting quarterback.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying that feeds into the lack of boosters. That feeds into the lack of infrastructure. I mean, who's really in charge? I mean,
it's because NIL's illegal there. Don't you know that?
Who's in charge of Oklahoma State? Yeah, I guess NIL. Yeah, Gundy. Yeah,
it's Gundy. Like,
yeah. So Gundy. It's so you just have a lot of teams who don't have that infrastructure.
Well, it's just like what you said though about like UCF and all that as well. It's like they thought they were going to walk in and be able to compete with everybody, and realizing you may have a full roster, but you only have 25 guys. Good luck. They have to now play the entire game.
Yeah,
there is no rotation, and they're realizing that.
And they'll get better. I do think they will get better. But for right now, the team the Big 12's future is Utah. Utah is consistently good. They consistently get guys. Being able to have the Holy War, being able to do the Holy War as a conference game every year is going to help them.
I mean, like, it's just I'm pretty much at that point to where if I'm the commissioner with the Big 12 and everything, I'm like, it's going to be a bit of a rehaul and everything, and it's like you're just hoping, man, I just want to get to college basketball and everything too, because it's like I think that's going to be the only saving grace that they'll have, is basically we're just relying on college basketball more than anything than just relying on just football as a whole at this point.
Well, and that's going to be one of those things too, where it's like that's what they're banking on, though. So
yeah, essentially they're in the red ocean and not the blue ocean. Not a political thing. That's
correct.
That's a Nintendo.
They're in the basketball arena. They're not in the football.
Yeah,
but again,
that's a Nintendo thing. That's a Nintendo thing.
Right. Again, though, looking ahead on OU's schedule, outside of maybe West Virginia and BYU, like TCU don't scare me. UCF doesn't scare me. Houston doesn't scare me. Like, there's nobody on this roster that is like scary. At this point,
only Texas is scary.
Yeah, which you know what this means, guys, right? Mm-hmm. Well, how the turntables
Yeah.
That's what's happened because it is the nightmare scenario for the Big 12 right now. And OU and Texas, let's put them in their place. Bro, you're about to have an OU and Texas Big 12 championship to the nightmare of the rest of the Big 12. They are probably like in full meltdown mode at this point.
Yeah.
So, and it's
hysterical.
They
are.
Yeah,
it's hysterical.
They're hoping, and you know what? I'll say this. I don't want to defend Brett, but you know what? I'll defend Brett a little bit. I will very smallly defend the Big 12 and Brett. They know they can't. They know they can't compete in football. This is not we can try really hard. We can figure it out. This isn't that. They can't compete. Maybe Colorado is good if Deion stays around, but right now Deion's the ultimate question mark. Nobody knows Deion's goals. Nobody knows what he wants. So Deion is a total. Nobody knows. Look. This is not me hating on Deion. This is not me doing anything against Deion. It comes down to we do not know what his long-term plans are. Are they going to be good? Is he going to want to be there for a while? Is he going to just jump to the NFL if someone offers him a position? Honestly, someone offering Deion a head coaching position in the NFL would be the dumbest thing ever. Nothing against Deion. He can nothing against Deion, but it's just
It's not the worst thing.
It's a good point. Good point. Jeff Saturday coached for the Colts. That's worse. No, I mean, but at least Deion has some head coaching experience. But yeah, I mean, so we don't know because look, you can't trust Deion right now, and that I'm not calling him a liar. I just don't know. I just don't know what his ultimate goal is. Is his ultimate goal just to come to Colorado and stay there and build a program? Is it to eventually wait for Florida State to for Norvell to fail at Florida State so he takes over Florida State? I don't know. Riley leaves USC. Does USC call Deion? It's nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on with him, and so that's kind of a big. That's what's going to make that a lot of the future of the Big 12 hinges on that. Because if Deion leaves, okay, then you're back to Colorado being Colorado's back to the lower half, and your top three football teams are Utah, BYU, West Virginia. Those three, maybe Arizona. Arizona State. I don't know what the hierarchy of the Big 12 becomes then, and that's a problem. I know you can say, "Oh, it makes it more exciting." I mean, the MAC is the MAC is always up for grabs and very exciting. Doesn't mean it's good. So, I don't know what the event. I don't know what happens with the Big 12. I don't know what we'll see. All we know for sure is that all we know for sure right now is the Pac-12 is breaking up. There's stuff that Washington State and Oregon State have to work out with them about naming, money, and everything. The Big Ten's fine, SEC's fine, Big 12 has survived, and the ACC is together for at least 9 more years. Maybe a little bit less, maybe 7 years or so, because their grant of rights is just so long, and no one's pay. No one. Florida State can't pay to get out right now. I mean they can. I'm sure they can raise the money. OU and Texas weaseled their way out that last season, but even then, even with everything, we had to really weasel our way out of it, and that only bought us like what 1 year early. 1 year early. So it's not. So it's not like. So it's not like this is just an easy thing for Clemson or FSU to do. I do think that's the eventual goal. And if I was the ACC right now, I would be doing everything I could to find a way to make Florida State and Clemson happy. I don't know if there is a way, but at the very least, you know what your problems are. You can try and tackle them. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be possible, but at least you know you're not being taken. You're not being blindsided like Bowlesby or what happened to the Pac-12. You have at least you know. At least you know what you know.
Yeah, but I mean, Swiggy, you know what? That's Florida State, Clemson, and all that. They can worry about that. You know what we got to worry about though?
What?
Because it's the most wonderful time of the year. It is OU Texas this weekend. I want to very briefly with that so we can wrap up. Again, OU Texas weekend, guys. First time probably in about a couple years, maybe 2 or 3 years, easy that OU and Texas are both walking in like full strength. No deficiencies at the defense, no injuries, no anything like that. Shortly after OU won, College Game Day announced they were going to be there. Mm-hmm. Nobody should be surprised what with all the storylines involved, guys. We got the last game in the Big 12. It's the first undefeated matchup since 2011. We got number 3 versus number 12. Both games for the past several years have been decided by a touchdown or less. Tickets are already $400 plus for a single ticket, as nature has intended. Like national media is putting like Texas on a pedestal, which means their fall from grace is going to be even better when that happens. Based on Texas play, I'm not scared of them. Like everyone's like, you could write off Wyoming as a post-emotional crash versus Bama. Sure. I can get behind that. Mm-hmm. High emotion game. They came out flat against Wyoming. That happens all the time. No problem with that. But Kansas, it took them 3 quarters to put them away a backup quarterback, and it didn't even beat them. They wore them out is what happens. On paper, don't get me wrong, Texas does have stats. They do have on paper, they do edge OU. But I think when you start breaking it down, and we'll save this for Friday for that, OU edges them in some areas. And I think it's going to come down to who can run the ball and who can shut the other one down at that point, if they can. Can they shut them down at wide receivers for it? Mm-hmm. Again, I think there's areas OU can exploit. It's just they got to play a perfect game. Because at the end of the day, if OU beats them, we're on a fast track to where we want to be. If not, we're about where we thought we were going to be. It was going to be next year where all the stars and talent align at that point. But then again, I mean, who knows what happens? Because if the Big 12 wants OU and Texas to beat up on each other, the refs aren't going to be there. I mean, we could probably go down there, walk onto the field with a steel chair, and just join the game at this point. Like, it's WWE.
Yeah. If there's one thing, I mean, to me, that's what makes OU dangerous. Because, like, look, if we lose to Texas, okay, we lose to a top 5 team. We don't like it. But once again, I've said it repeatedly, we're not national championship contenders. This is not a make or break game for us. So I feel that does help us a little bit because we can be kind of loose. We can go in. I mean, last year was bad, but last year we also had major deficient. Last year we didn't have a quarterback. Like last year was just unfortunate. So I'd like to avenge last year, but really, as far as I'm concerned, all the pressure's on Texas. You're top 5. You made a statement at home. You made a statement on the road against Alabama, but people aren't sure how good Alabama really is. So this is your chance to really plant your flag, and take over the Big 12. This is their shot. To me, this is what everything comes down to for them. Because it's a major statement game for us. Oh, okay, we lose. That sucks. Let's win out the rest of the way and get to the Big 12 championship.
Yeah,
that's it. So for us, I'm kind of like we just have to play We have to come in. We have to play, and and hopefully the defense exposes Ewers. If not, okay, we lose this game. Let's just take the rest of the year as a prep and beat him in the Big 12 title game. That's I mean, that's what I'd simply do.
It just gives us some room for error.
Yeah.
If we win. Gavin, what do you think? Final thoughts as we wrap up.
I will probably say for my final thoughts, so too, I've pretty much been in most agreement with all you guys. This is just going to be more like a feel of like where we are right now as a whole in the program right now with year 2 under Brent Venables. If we lose, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. It's like, okay, at least we know where we are, where we're at and like what areas we need to improve in. I'll have like my own thoughts about like coming up later in the week when we preview Texas and everything else though too. I'm like, game plans for my stuff and everything as well later down the road.
Yep. All right, guys, let's wrap up. Gavin, any final thoughts from past week? It's OU Texas. It's 9:46 Central Standard Time, daylight time before time change, and Texas still sucks. Any final thoughts?
Nah, just go ahead and get the horns down, and I'm just ready to go ahead and basically see about finding a way to maybe cook a nice Bevo burger. That's what I'm looking for.
Gotcha. Swiggy, final thoughts?
My final thoughts are Texas still sucks, and hope it's a better game than last year.
Yeah, my final thoughts are I'm going to be very curious on what the weather is going to be because a massive cold front is supposed to come through, and it's going to be like 65 degrees at kickoff. Like apparently it's going to be great weather, but
yes,
I can't wait. It's supposed to be like wind chill 30, 40s. My schedule at the moment is my preview. I'm going to try my best to get it up Thursday. If not, it will be Friday morning. At the latest Saturday morning. I'm trying my best to get them up earlier. It's just a lot of work lately for it. But like my actual live stream for this one will be Friday night because our schedule is a little bit wonky this week. Friday night, 8:30, we'll all hop on and just break down OU Texas, swap OU Texas stories, and have fun because 12 hours later will be kickoff time, guys. So plan for that, 8:30, guys. So that's all I got to. Swiggy, Gavin, thanks for joining me tonight. Be sure everybody to comment, rate, subscribe, like, hit the bell so you know when I upload a video, whenever I upload videos, as well as go live. Be sure to watch old videos as well. It helps with the algorithm to get the channel out there so everybody can join in, as well as wait.
I do have one more comment.
No, okay.
This is an important comment. Just remember to all of you, as a hater, I want everyone to suffer except for my team.
Hey, my fantasy team won. I don't care. Subscribe to the Seattle defense. That's big brain mode. Anyway, regardless of that, final one, guys, is again, tell friends and family about the channel. Have them subscribe as well. The more people who join in on the live streams, the more we like to interact, have everybody interact with everybody. We all are passionate about OU football during the normal season, during the off season. So it's fun. So I have lots of plans and stuff. Excuse me. This year is just like trying to figure everything out still logistically. But next year, like I have some stuff ready to go. So guys, thanks for joining again. We'll see everybody Friday, 8:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time in the evening, not 8:30 in the morning. No. I will be asleep or I'm at work at that point. Boomer Sooner, only one. Texas sucks. See everybody Friday. Later.
Peace.